3 letters. CPP, 3 more letters. OAS, and 3 more after that. GIS, if you are over the age of 60 in Canada. These 9 letters may end up determining how comfortable or how stressful your retirement really is. And yet, according to countless conversations happening online right now, a huge number of Canadian seniors still don't fully understand the difference between these 3 programs. Some people assume they only qualify for one. Some people assume getting one automatically means they get the others. And some people are leaving money on the table every single month simply because they don't understand how these 3 programs actually work together. If you are approaching retirement, already retired, or helping a parent or loved one navigate this system, this video is going to walk you through exactly what CPP, OAS, and GIS are, how they are different from one another, who actually qualifies for each one, and whether you can receive all 3 at the same time. This is not a video full of guesswork or rumors. We are going to stick to what is factually true about how these programs are structured so you can walk away with a clear, accurate picture of your retirement income options. Before we go any further, if you find value in straightforward, no-nonsense information for Canadian seniors, go ahead and subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. We publish content specifically designed to help you understand your benefits, your entitlements, and your options without the confusion that so often comes with government programs. Now, let's get into it. Section 1, Topic Overview. Let's start with the big picture, because understanding how these 3 programs fit together is the key to understanding your entire retirement income puzzle. Canada's retirement income system is often described as having 3 pillars, and CPP, OAS, and GIS represent 2.5 of those pillars on their own, with private savings like RRSPs and workplace pensions filling in the rest. The Canada Pension Plan, or CPP, is a contributory program. That means it is funded by the contributions that you and your employer made while you were working. Every time you saw a CPP deduction on your paycheck, that money was going into a fund that is now paying out benefits to retirees, including potentially you. Because CPP is based on your contributions, the amount you receive is tied directly to how much you paid in and for how long. This is fundamentally different from the other 2 programs, and that distinction is one of the most important things to understand right from the start. Old Age Security, or OAS, works very differently. OAS is not based on your work history or your contributions at all. Instead, it is based primarily on how long you have lived in Canada as an adult. OAS is funded through general government tax revenues, not a dedicated contribution fund like CPP. This means that even someone who never worked a single day in Canada could potentially qualify for OAS as long as they meet the residency requirements, while someone who worked for decades but spent very little time living in Canada might receive a reduced amount or none at all. Then there is the Guaranteed Income Supplement, or GIS. This is the piece that trips up the most people, because GIS is not a standalone program in the way CPP and OAS are. GIS is an income-tested supplement that is added on top of OAS, specifically designed for lower-income seniors who need additional financial support. You cannot receive GIS without also being an OAS recipient, and how much GIS you receive, if any, depends heavily on your other sources of income. So right away, you can see the fundamental difference between these 3 programs. CPP rewards what you contributed during your working years, OAS rewards how long you lived in Canada, and GIS exists to support seniors whose income, even with CPP and OAS combined, still falls below a certain threshold. Understanding this distinction is the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about in this video. There's another important detail many seniors overlook, and we're going to get into it a little later in this video because it directly affects how much money ends up in your bank account each month, especially if you're someone who is still deciding when to start collecting these benefits. Section 2. Time. Important facts. Now let's break down some of the most important factual details about each of these 3 programs, because the specifics matter enormously when it comes to planning your retirement. Starting with CPP. To qualify for CPP, you generally need to have made at least one valid contribution to the plan during your working years. The amount you eventually receive is calculated based on how much you contributed, how long you contributed, and the age at which you choose to start collecting. This is a critical point because CPP is flexible when it comes to timing. You can choose to start receiving CPP as early as age 60, or you can delay it as late as age 70. Choosing to start earlier results in a permanently reduced monthly amount, while delaying results in a permanently increased monthly amount. This is one of the most significant financial decisions many retirees will make, and it deserves careful thought rather than a quick decision based on convenience. Moving to OAS. Unlike CPP, OAS eligibility is not about your work history, it is about residency. Generally speaking, you need to have lived in Canada for a minimum number of years after the age of 18 to qualify for at least a partial OAS pension, and you typically need a longer residency history to qualify for the full amount. Like CPP, OAS also offers some flexibility around timing. Standard eligibility begins around age 65, but you can choose to delay receiving OAS, which results in a permanently higher monthly payment. Unlike CPP, however, OAS cannot be taken earlier than the standard age. Another factual detail about OAS that catches many higher income seniors off guard is something known as the OAS recovery tax, sometimes referred to informally as a clawback. This means that if your individual net income exceeds a certain threshold set by the government, a portion of your OAS payment may be recovered through the tax system. This threshold is reviewed and can change, so it's important to check current figures directly through official government sources rather than relying on outdated information, since these numbers are adjusted periodically. Now let's talk about GIS, which operates on entirely different rules than the other two. GIS is income tested, which means your eligibility and payment amount depend on your annual income, and in the case of couples, potentially your combined household income. GIS is specifically designed for OAS recipients whose income is low enough that they need additional support to meet a basic standard of living. Because GIS is reassessed based on income, your GIS amount can change from year to year, and it requires seniors to file their taxes annually, even if they have little or no income to report, because the government uses that tax filing information to determine ongoing eligibility. One fact that surprises many people is that GIS is not automatically permanent. If your income rises above the eligibility threshold in a given year, your GIS payments can be reduced or stopped entirely. This is why understanding how GIS interacts with other income sources, including CPP, workplace pensions, and investment income, is so important for anyone relying on this supplement, but that's only part of the story. There's a common misunderstanding about how these three programs interact with each other that causes real financial stress for seniors, and we're going to address that directly in the next section. Section 3. Who is affected? So who exactly is affected by the differences between CPP, OAS, and GIS? The honest answer is nearly every Canadian senior, but in different ways depending on their personal, financial, and work history. If you worked in Canada and made CPP contributions during your career, you are affected by CPP rules, and your benefit amount will reflect your specific contribution history. This includes people who worked full-time for decades, as well as people who worked part-time, took time off for caregiving, or had gaps in their employment history. All of these factors can influence your final CPP amount, which is why two people who retire at the same age can receive very different CPP payments. If you have lived in Canada for a significant portion of your adult life, whether you worked here or not, you are affected by OAS rules. This includes immigrants who arrived in Canada partway through their working years, Canadians who spent time living or working abroad, and lifelong residents who never left the country. Your specific residency history will determine whether you receive a full or partial OAS pension. If your retirement income, even after CPP and OAS, remains modest, you are potentially affected by GIS. This often includes seniors who worked in lower-paying jobs throughout their careers, seniors who took extended time away from the workforce, seniors who are single and relying on one income rather than a combined household income, and seniors who do not have significant workplace pensions or personal savings to supplement their government benefits. It's also worth noting that couples are affected differently than single seniors, particularly when it comes to GIS. Because GIS calculations can take household income into account for couples, two seniors living together may see a different outcome than two seniors living independently with the same individual incomes. This is an important nuance that often gets lost when people compare their situation to a friend's or neighbor's benefit amounts, assuming their circumstances should be identical when they are not. There's another important detail many seniors overlook here too. Your marital status, your living situation, and even whether your spouse is also a Canadian senior receiving benefits can all influence your GIS eligibility and amount. This is why generic online benefit calculators or rules of thumb should never replace a proper check of your specific situation through official government channels or opportunities. Let's talk about what these three programs actually mean for you in terms of benefits, risks, and opportunities, because understanding this can genuinely change how you approach your retirement planning. The biggest benefit of understanding how CPP, OAS, and GIS work together is that it allows you to make informed decisions rather than assumptions. Many seniors assume that because they qualify for one benefit, they automatically qualify for the others, or they assume the opposite, that receiving one benefit disqualifies them from another. Neither assumption is safe to rely on. The reality is that these are three separate programs with three separate sets of rules, and it is entirely possible for a senior to receive CPP, OAS, and GIS simultaneously, receive only CPP and OAS, receive only OAS and GIS, or in some cases, receive only one of the three, depending entirely on their personal work history, residency history, and income level. This creates a genuine opportunity for seniors who take the time to understand their eligibility. Many people who assume they don't qualify for GIS, for example, simply because they receive CPP, may actually be eligible if their overall income remains below the relevant threshold. On the flip side, there is a real risk for seniors who assume their GIS eligibility is permanent and unchanging. If your income increases, whether through investment gains, a part-time job, or even certain one-time payments, your GIS amount can decrease, and in some cases, you may need to repay amounts if your income was not accurately reported. Another opportunity worth understanding relates to the timing decisions available within CPP and OAS. Because both programs allow you to delay when you start receiving payments in exchange for a permanently higher monthly amount, there is a genuine strategic opportunity here for seniors who are able to delay collecting and rely on other income sources in the meantime. This is not the right choice for everyone, particularly those who need the income immediately, but it is a decision that deserves careful consideration rather than being made by default or convenience. There is also a risk associated with not filing your taxes on time or accurately, particularly when it comes to GIS. Because GIS eligibility is reassessed annually based on your tax filing, seniors who delay filing their taxes, file incorrectly, or fail to report all sources of income can experience interruptions or reductions in their GIS payments, sometimes without fully understanding why the change occurred. But there's a factor that could make a significant difference for many viewers watching this video right now, one that we haven't touched on yet, and it has to do with what happens when your circumstances change, such as the loss of a spouse, a change in living arrangements, or a return to part-time work. We'll cover exactly what to watch for in the next section. This is a great moment to remind you that if you're finding this breakdown useful, subscribing to this channel means you won't miss future videos where we go deeper into specific scenarios like spousal benefits, survivor benefits, and how life changes affect your retirement income. Now let's continue. Section 5. Important dates, requirements, Oregon rules. Let's go over some of the key structural rules and requirements that govern these three programs, because getting the details right matters enormously when it comes to your actual retirement income. For CPP, the standard age to begin receiving your pension is 65, but as mentioned earlier, you have flexibility starting as early as age 60 and delaying as late as age 70. It's important to understand that this decision is generally permanent once you begin collecting, so it is not something to decide casually. You also need to have made at least one valid contribution to the CPP during your working life to qualify at all, which means CPP is fundamentally tied to your employment history in Canada. For OAS, the standard eligibility age is 65, with the option to delay receiving payments until age 70 in exchange for a higher monthly amount. Unlike CPP, there is no option to begin receiving OAS before age 65. Your eligibility and payment amount are determined by your years of residency in Canada after the age of 18, and specific thresholds exist for both partial and full pension amounts. If you have lived outside of Canada for extended periods, it is essential to check your specific residency record because this can significantly impact your OAS entitlement. For GIS, there is no independent starting age separate from OAS. Because GIS is only available to those who are already receiving OAS, eligibility and payment amounts are reassessed annually based on income reported through your tax filing, which means that filing your taxes every year, even with little or no income, is essential for maintaining uninterrupted GIS payments. This annual reassessment cycle is one of the most important structural rules to understand because it means your GIS amount is not static. It can go up, go down, or stop entirely from one year to the next, depending on changes in your income. One requirement that applies across all three programs is the importance of applying on time and providing accurate documentation. While some benefits may involve automatic enrollment in certain circumstances, this is not guaranteed for everyone, and delays in applying can sometimes result in delayed payments or, in specific cases, a loss of retroactive benefits beyond a certain limit. This is why it's critical to confirm your specific application requirements directly with Service Canada well before you expect to need these benefits, rather than waiting until you are already retired and in need of the income. It's also worth noting that these programs are subject to periodic government review and specific dollar thresholds, whether for OAS clawback, GIS income limits, or contribution requirements, are adjusted from time to time. Because these figures change, this video will not attempt to quote specific dollar amounts that could become outdated. Instead, I strongly encourage every viewer to check the current official figures directly through the official Government of Canada website or by speaking with a Service Canada representative to get numbers that reflect your exact situation today. Common mistakes to avoid. Now let's talk about some of the most common mistakes Canadian seniors make when it comes to CPP, OAS, and GIS, because avoiding these mistakes could genuinely protect your financial well-being in retirement. The first common mistake is assuming that all three benefits are automatically linked, meaning that qualifying for one guarantees qualifying for the others, or that losing eligibility for one automatically affects the others. As we've discussed throughout this video, each program has its own distinct eligibility rules, and treating them as interchangeable can lead to serious misunderstandings about your actual retirement income. The second common mistake is failing to file taxes on time or at all, particularly among seniors with very low or no income who mistakenly believe that filing isn't necessary if they don't owe any tax. This is a significant risk specifically for GIS recipients because the government relies on your tax filing to determine your ongoing eligibility. Skipping a tax filing, even with zero income, can result in an interruption of your GIS payments. The third common mistake is making a snap decision about when to start CPP or OAS without considering the long-term financial impact. Because the decision to start early or delay is generally permanent, some seniors rush into collecting as early as possible simply because they can, without fully considering whether delaying might have provided a stronger long-term financial outcome based on their health, other income sources, and life expectancy expectations. The fourth common mistake is not reporting changes in income or life circumstances promptly. Because GIS in particular is income tested and reassessed annually, changes such as returning to part-time work, receiving an inheritance, receiving investment income, or changes in marital status can all affect your benefit amount. Seniors who don't understand this connection are sometimes surprised when their GIS payment changes unexpectedly. The fifth common mistake is assuming that benefit amounts are the same for everyone. It is extremely common for seniors to compare their benefit amounts to a friend, sibling, or neighbor and become confused or concerned when the numbers don't match. As we've explained, CPP depends on your personal contribution history, OAS depends on your residency history, and GIS depends on your income. It would be unusual, not typical, for two different people to receive identical amounts across all three programs. The sixth mistake, and one of the most costly, is not seeking clarification directly from Service Canada when something is unclear, relying solely on informal advice from friends, family, or even general online content, including videos like this one, without confirming your specific situation through official channels, can lead to decisions that don't actually reflect your personal eligibility or entitlements. This video is designed to give you a clear educational foundation, but your specific numbers and eligibility should always be confirmed directly with Service Canada. Section 7. Practical steps viewers can take. So what should you actually do with this information? Let's walk through some practical, actionable steps you can take right now to make sure you fully understand your CPP, OAS, and GIS situation. The first step is to request your CPP Statement of Contributions, which shows your complete contribution history and can give you a clearer picture of what you might expect to receive at different starting ages. This is available through your My Service Canada account, and reviewing this document is one of the most concrete ways to understand your personal CPP situation rather than relying on general averages. The second step is to confirm your residency history for OAS purposes, particularly if you have spent any significant time living outside of Canada during your adult life. Understanding exactly how many years you have accumulated toward OAS eligibility will help you know whether you can expect a full or partial pension and will help you avoid surprises when you apply. The third step is to file your taxes every single year on time, regardless of how much or how little income you have. This single habit protects your GIS eligibility more than almost anything else, and it ensures that any recalculations to your benefits happen smoothly rather than resulting in unexpected interruptions. The fourth step is to set up or log into your My Service Canada account if you haven't already. This online portal is one of the most valuable tools available to Canadian seniors because it allows you to view your benefit information, application status, and payment history directly rather than relying on second-hand information or estimates. The fifth step is to think carefully and ideally speak with a financial advisor or Service Canada representative before making a final decision about when to start collecting CPP and OAS. Because these decisions are largely permanent, taking the time to understand how early versus delayed collection affects your specific financial situation is one of the most impactful things you can do for your long-term retirement income. The sixth step is to proactively report any changes in your income or life circumstances to Service Canada as they happen, rather than waiting for the annual tax filing to catch up. This is particularly important for GIS recipients, since prompt reporting can help avoid both underpayments and the stress of unexpected overpayment recovery down the line. The seventh step is to review your situation periodically, even if nothing has changed. Government programs, income thresholds, and personal circumstances can all shift over time, and a periodic check-in, whether once a year or whenever a major life event occurs, ensures that you are always working with accurate, current information rather than outdated assumptions. If you've made it this far in the video, you clearly care about getting this right, and that puts you ahead of a lot of people who simply assume they understand these programs without ever double-checking. That's exactly the kind of proactive approach that protects your financial well-being in retirement. Before we wrap up with your key takeaways, if this video has been helpful so far, now is a great time to hit subscribe and let us know in the comments which of these three programs, CPP, OAS, or GIS, you'd like us to cover in even more detail in a future video. Section 8, Key Takeaways. Let's bring everything together with a clear summary of what we've covered today, because understanding these key points could make a real difference in how confidently you approach your retirement income planning. CPP, OAS, and GIS are three separate programs, each with its own distinct purpose and eligibility rules. CPP is based on your personal contributions during your working years, and the amount you receive depends on how much and how long you contributed, along with the age at which you choose to start collecting. OAS is based primarily on your years of residency in Canada, not your work history, and it also offers flexibility around timing, though only for delaying, not for starting early. GIS is an income-tested supplement available only to OAS recipients whose income falls below a certain threshold, and it requires annual tax filing to maintain ongoing eligibility. It is entirely possible to receive all three benefits at the same time, but it is equally possible to receive only one or two, depending entirely on your personal work history, residency history, and income level. There is no universal answer that applies to every senior, which is exactly why understanding the individual rules for each program matters so much. The most common mistakes seniors make involve assuming these programs are automatically linked, failing to file taxes consistently, making rushed decisions about when to start collecting, not reporting income or life changes promptly, comparing their benefit amounts to others without understanding the underlying differences, and relying on informal advice instead of confirming details directly with Service Canada. The most valuable steps you can take right now involve reviewing your CPP contribution statement, confirming your OAS residency history, filing your taxes on time every year, setting up your My Service Canada account, carefully considering your timing decisions, promptly reporting any changes in circumstances, and periodically reviewing your situation to stay current. Retirement planning in Canada does not have to feel overwhelming or confusing, but it does require a clear understanding of how these three foundational programs actually work, both individually and together. The more informed you are, the better positioned you will be to make decisions that genuinely support your financial security in the years ahead. We want to be clear that this video is intended for general educational purposes, and every senior situation is unique. Specific dollar amounts, income thresholds, and eligibility rules can and do change over time. So we always encourage you to confirm your personal details directly through the official Government of Canada website or by speaking with a Service Canada representative before making any major financial decisions based on these programs. Thank you for spending this time with us today to better understand CPP, OAS, and GIS. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend or family member who might benefit from this information, and subscribe to this channel so you never miss future videos designed to help Canadian seniors navigate their benefits with clarity and confidence. Staying informed is one of the most powerful things you can do for your financial well-being in retirement, and we'll see you in the next video.